History's filled with organizations that expanded too quick because they didn't set up their net. They didn't set up their home base where it's self-sustaining. All right? And then what happens? Home base crumbles. Their service suffered. Their product suffered. And next thing you know, they collapse and they go out of business. It's the reason why we test our people and we have a good, solid plan. Right? And the plan only works if we've trained our people, if our people are ready to take over. Otherwise, it's not worth the paper it's printed on if you really think it through. Make sure you paint that picture as to the why all this is so important with your people, because I think they'll get it if you let them know that home base has to be protected. Hello everyone, welcome to the Now What podcast, episode 22. My name is Glenn Sharp. I am the president and CEO of Sharp Leadership Development. Let's get right into it. The weather here is getting better in Cincinnati. We got a 50-degree day and it's sunny, so we're looking forward to that and more weather like that. Hopefully it's pretty nice where you are. Hopefully you got through the weather, especially those of you in the Northeast. Thoughts and prayers go out to you guys. It's a lot of snow that got dumped on you guys. But let's get into our scenario. It's been made clear to me by upper management that I need to prepare for an eventual expansion over the next year, right? So they're going to acquire a company. There's no doubt about it. They have plans for this. This is what a lot of organizations go through, but there's a lot to it, as you guys know. So my boss has alerted me that a sizable purchase is coming. There it is. My team and I need to develop a solid integration plan for how we will respond once the agreement is signed. They're in operations, as you can see, in Florida, with 10 locations throughout the state. So it sounds like they're acquiring someone in the state of Florida or close to the state of Florida. And Elise's question is, what are some of the key components she should be working on? You've got to think differently about this type of a situation. All right? This can be very complex, but it's really about being proactive versus reactive. I have been through many of these types of situations to differing degrees in the different companies that I've worked for. And one of the things that I always think about is, why didn't we think about this before? Why didn't we plan for this prior to it happening? I can't stand it when we do some sort of an acquisition or some sort of a purchase where we're scrambling at the last minute and everybody's kind of going nuts to figure out what to do. And I don't want that for you, Elise. That's horrible. It sucks for all your employees. It sucks for the people that you purchased. And it sucks for, obviously, everyone involved in your current company. So we don't want that to happen. So I want you to think proactively, not reactively. It sounds like you got a little bit of time here, which is a good thing. It sounds like your company is in the market for purchasing an organization or expanding. That's good that they alerted you. Way to go. Kudos to the upper management for giving you the heads up, because a lot of times it's like, bam, hey, guess what? We just purchased this, we just purchased that. So you've got a good, solid foundation in that upper management, but you also have a heads up. So let's take advantage of the heads up. So let's get into, obviously, the proactive versus reactive graph that we've seen before. Those of you new to the channel, you see effort versus implementation. The basic premise behind red line versus green line is, if you follow the red line, that would be last minute, you wait until you put minimal effort up front, and then if you follow the red line, look at how much effort you have to put in to get to the same level of implementation. Versus green line, let's get as much done, put as much effort in up front as you possibly can. If you follow that green line, look at the amount of effort that you have to put in as time goes by. All right? You don't have to put nearly the amount of effort in later on. So that's what I want for you, at least. I want you to start to think about what that looks like, right? And how you can be as proactive as possible, so when the actual purchase comes, you guys are ready, prepared, ready to go. It is not chaos. It's not hair on fire. And it's calm, cool, collected. People are expecting it. So how are you going to handle rumors, right? Both from your end and from the company that you're purchasing. From my end, I always am thinking to myself, listen, I need to keep my people informed, but I need to make sure that my direct reports are also keeping people informed. I can't be around all the time. So my direct reports and I talk a little bit about, hey, keep your ear to the grindstone. Make sure that anytime you hear something, you quell it as quick as possible, clarify as quick as possible. The rumor mill can be very, very wild. And for some reason, left to their own devices, they can come up with some outlandish stuff. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. In one of the companies that I worked for, we purchased an organization in Chicago, and I remember going to the hotel and the big ballroom where we welcomed all these new employees. And they were outside the ballroom, and it was, there was drinks and refreshments and all sorts of stuff happening. The ballroom doors were closed, so they were just mingling about, and I was mingling about with them in just regular street clothes. I did not dress up. And I just remember hearing all sorts of crazy stuff, like I heard they're gonna cut our pay, or I heard they completely take away all the benefits, and I heard this and I heard that. And then once the door opened and I had a chance to actually address the room, I had a little fun with them, because I'm like, I heard you, and I heard you, and I heard you, and I said, not only are those rumors that you guys are spouting not true, actually we're offering you incredible health insurance, far better than you have it now. And legally we're not allowed to change your pay. And I kind of went on and on and on, and all of a sudden there's laughter in the room. But left to their own devices, they came up with some crazy stuff. And it's up to you to make sure that you are aware of that. When you are acquiring a company, make sure you get with some of their key stakeholders as soon as possible, and make sure they know what's going on. You can send correspondence to them, you can talk to some key people, but make sure that you don't let that rumor mill churn, because it can be devastating. By the way, going back to my story, we lost about 15% of the population based on rumors, based on what they've heard about our company. So it's a shame, because we're not only purchasing the tangible assets, we're purchasing human capital as well, right? We don't typically, when you purchase a company, you don't have a whole corral of people to go fill their spots. You would much rather keep individuals existing, right, in place, rather than hire and train anew. But unfortunately, they thought that the rumors were true, and they thought it was going to be an absolute dumpster fire, and they chose to leave. So you can certainly save yourself a lot of time and effort by making sure those rumors are addressed immediately. The next one you see there is called test your people. So Elise, as you are planning, my advice to you is take some of your top performers, get them together and paint a picture for them, and let them know, hey, listen, I just want you to understand that you guys are going to have to step up. Okay, some of us are going to be spending a ton of time with this new company, whether they're in Georgia or Alabama or someplace else in the South, right? Or if they're in Florida. Florida's a big state geographically, so you're not going to be around home base. So my advice to you, Elise, is to test them, meaning give them skills and responsibilities that you can do. Have them identify some of the key performers on their teams and have them test some of their key performers. So have them do meetings, right? Have them do some of the tasks like scheduling and budget and counseling employees and things that typically are associated with management. Have them do those tasks and test them to see whether or not they can actually get it done. Right? That's what I want. I want to have a situation where when you leave, right, and go to that new company, that you're not worried about home base. Okay, and we'll address that in just a second. So testing them is the same kind of technique as you would do if you wanted to promote somebody. The best case scenario is before you promote somebody, test them to see if they have the skills and abilities to be a manager. And then once a job opens up, then they would interview knowing that they've done many of the tasks that they're going to be asked to do. Same thing applies with a purchase, right? Because you want to make sure that you have options. You can send people to the new location. You can leave people back at the home base. You have options, and you don't have to worry about whether or not things will continuously get done and if there will be an interruption in business. So that's what I mean, at least by testing your people. The third one is think about how you would feel if you were being purchased. Right? It is kind of weird being purchased. I have actually been that company who has been purchased, and obviously you feel like you don't belong. You feel like you're basically being smothered by the new company, and you're kind of being bullied, and it's kind of being pushed down your throat, these new policies and procedures. It's a good thing when you start to think like them. How would they like to be treated? What would you like to hear if you were that new company? And that's how you should kind of base your plan, which we'll talk about next. All right, think about what it's like being that company that got acquired. So the soonest you can integrate them, the better. So that might be, right away, as soon as they're purchased, having some key players come and work at your locations, having them come to lunch, meeting with some of the key players on your team, just so that they feel comfortable, they understand that it's not too much different. We're acquiring you for a reason. Compliment them. Like the reason why we purchased your company is because we're attracted to the brand, or to the store locations, or to the success you guys have had. We welcome you. Make them feel like they are really, really welcome in the new family. Then they will in turn go back to their respective areas, and they will start to tout the new company and start to ease the mind of others. And that's what you want. You want to have multiple sets of people going back and talking about the company, talking about, hey, it's going to be okay. The fourth point you see on the screen is develop and fine-tune your plan now. So come up with a plan, an integration plan, a purchase plan, whatever you want to call it, acquisition plan, whatever you want to call it. Have your people work with you on the plan. And at least one of the things I would really think about if I were you is make that a cool special project. This is a great topic for one of your best performers to really head up and work with some of your other top performers to kind of hash things out and present you a cool, just general idea of what it would look like and what they're thinking about, all right? And then you can revise it. Remember, it's a lot easier to revise than it is to create. And as the boss, Elise, there's a lot of time associated with this. They can help you out with this. It's a cool special project to give to one of your top performers as a reward. It's also something that will make them buy into the plan if they create it. So it's something to consider, but make sure you give them, obviously, the parameters, give them the skeleton, and they fill everything else in. But make sure you have a comprehensive plan from when the purchase first happens to when you guys actually take over, what it's going to look like when you rebrand, what it's going to look like when you meet the employees, what it's going to look like when you start integrating new software, new systems, things like that. There's so much to a purchase and an acquisition. Make sure it's comprehensive, and then obviously you guys will be ready. The final thought I want you to think about, Elise, is painting a picture for your folks and having them imagine the following. All right, so you purchase this company, and next thing you know, all your human capital, all the top performers have to go to Georgia, let's say. They go to Atlanta because that's where the new company is, and that's where the locations are. But the problem is you weren't set up for all those top performers to leave. History's filled with organizations that expanded too quick because they didn't set up their net. They didn't set up their home base where it's self-sustaining, and they have an infrastructure where they have top talent, and they have backup, and they have people who can easily fill in. And then what happens? Home base crumbles. So that has happened to many companies out there where they expanded too quick and they weren't able to handle it, and their service suffered, their products suffered, and next thing you know, they collapse and they go out of business, and you don't want that. That's the reason why we do this. That's the reason why we set up our net, so to speak. That's the reason why we test our people. We make sure we squash the rumors. You make sure you think about the acquiring company, but mostly it's the reason why we test our people and we have a good, solid plan, right? And the plan only works if we've trained our people, if our people are ready to take over. Otherwise, it's not worth the paper it's printed on if you really think it through, right? So make sure you paint that picture as to the why all this is so important with your people, because I think they'll get it if you let them know that home base has to be protected, or it could go south for everyone involved. So Elise, I hope that's helpful. I hope that's helpful to all of my rest of my viewers as well. We'll obviously attack questions like this all the time. This is kind of the way we've been rolling in 2026, and it's getting a really positive response, all the scenario-based training. So if you have a new manager, or if you have someone that you need to test, like we talked about, this is a great book for them that I published a few months ago called Now What? This book is about Johnny. He's one of my clients, and he is an amazing mechanic, and because he was such a great mechanic, they made him manager of mechanics. Now what? So this is me coaching Johnny over a 4-month period to give him the skills, abilities, tips, tricks, techniques to get him on a level playing field with the rest of his peers. Right? So Johnny asked me questions, we go through various topics, but it's a great way to really test your people. It's a great way, if you have a new hire or someone who's struggling in management, to really get them into a good space. I have a lot of people lately who have been in management for a long time. They've taken my workshops for my leadership development business, and they're like, can I please have that book? Right? And I directed them to Amazon. So it's available paperback, it's available ebook. It will be available on Audible pretty soon here. So it's a great way to get those newbies and even existing managers on a level playing field with their peers. In episode 23, our next episode, we're going to tackle something that's pretty cool. It's something that a lot of my clients are really struggling with. So this is Robert in California. He's trying to transition his culture. He's a station manager, and he is really taking on what he calls the lion's share of management responsibilities. And he needs to hold his 2 leads accountable, and he needs to instill in them that they are true members of management. This is a huge issue out there, especially in the manufacturing space, where the leads or the assistant managers, supervisors, or whatever you want to call them, the second level under management is not acting like managers, and you're not getting a lot of productivity out of them. They're more like individual contributors, or glorified individual contributors. And this is really the Achilles heel of a lot of manufacturing companies out there, a lot of companies in general. So really, Robert wants to know, how do I influence them to take on this responsibility? So we will attack that in the next episode. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed the material in this podcast. I wish you guys all the best in your management and leadership journey, and I'll see you next time for episode 23.